but now he's got them cut to a very exact size. He's taken and trimmed off all the ends. So he's putting a little glue on this block, and it'll fit right into this collar here. And again, if you notice the fixture, it's clearly made right here at Heritage. You know, it's unique to us. So he's got a rim. He's taken it up a little bit. It fits in there. A couple things come in, and oh, it does have a little break in the butt.
I know.
Might have to make the block. I don't think it will. So essentially this is how he's doing that glue up. Comes out of there, this is what he's got. If we were to try to start making a guitar like this, we'd have a heck of a problem. If we put glue on this little rim here, nothing would stick to it. So what we need to do is we take them and we line them. This is what we call lining or knurfling. It's just a gang sawed piece of mahogany. And as you can see, now that we have this, we'd be able to take this lining piece and work it around there and glue that in there. And what that does is now when it's all glued in there, now we have plenty of glue surface to glue something to. If you've ever looked inside of any hollow guitar, any acoustic guitar or something, you've seen some sort of lining in there. So in case you ever wondered what it was for, that's what it's for. It's just so you have extra glue surface. Using either poplar or basswood. We have poplar today, we prefer basswood. So we glue them up into a sandwich, we put them into this press, and we hydraulically jack them up in there. And that press not only does it glue them together, but there's an actual die in there. So as they're being glued together, it's pressing an arch in there simultaneously. So when they come out, we call this a panel when it's done. But you can clearly see now that I have 3 pieces of wood that are all glued together in a sandwich. And again, some beautiful, beautiful figured maple. If you look closely, you can see a little bit of an arch that's been pushed into the top. And also a little bit of a dish that's been pushed into the back. So this is essentially our starting point. This is the panel. Grab that panel, bandsaw it out, start cutting a couple holes. This is the start of a 335 or a double cutaway. Again, see this clearly a laminated position. So we're talking about this being a semi-hollow body guitar with a solid block going through the middle. Well, you can see if I put this on there, that is not a solid block. It's got a big gaping hole in the back of there. What we do is we take little pieces of patchwood, like this, and we glue these in there. Then we're able to trim this all flat again. Now when I put this rim on there, it sucked up that gap, and you would do the same thing with the top. Now I actually do have a solid block of wood going from top to back. So if you've ever wondered, that's essentially how that all happens.
A floating block is just the elimination of that float.
In a floating block, we would round this edge over, and we would eliminate this patch in the back of the guitar. So it would still be solid on the top, but then the back would be floating free. Guitar, the binding sticks up over the top of the guitar. This is how we sand all that down too as well. So we have a number of different sanding belts. We have a number of different tiers.
Does that have audio on there?
Obviously, I put a solid body in here. I put my double cutaways. There's a deeper tiers here for doing arch top guitars. But essentially all this is I just got a piece of wood here, and you can see this ropey stuff right here. That's no good. That's got to come out of there. This is just mucked up top. You can see stuff like you've got stuff going on here, but this is
Early out catch up with you.
I was just showing Fred how
So you can see here he's got a bunch of guitars. He's got this one rabbited. He's got a channel cut in here. And he's stacking up pieces of plastic to fit in there.
Perfect.
The binding actually we use here, it's ABS plastic. But it serves three very distinct purposes for us here at Heritage. Number one, it's ornate. You can see we've got black and white lines here. We've got some black lines on the side. So it's real pretty. Number two, see one of these double cutaways right here. Number two, you can see again, this is that laminated guitar. You can see all the layers of lamination and how it joins the rim. Well, now all that's hidden. So it's hiding all those laminations. Again, our classic piece of maple glued to a piece of mahogany. Now that seam is all hidden. You can't see where those two pieces of wood have been joined together now. So you can still clearly see that it's maple and mahogany. You just can't see that seam anymore. So, and again, we do it the old-fashioned way, rope and tape. They've been roping binding as long as they've been doing binding.
We had a question the other day.
Went ahead and glued a heel cap on the back of this. We bring it over to our guy Aaron over here, and Aaron's what we call this whitewood sanding over here. He looks these things over with a fine-tooth comb. And I mean, if there's any little tiny scratch, it's got to get taken out. If he's got a little pinhole right here between the binding and the wood, he's got to fill it. He's got to fill it with wood dough or plastic or whatever needs to be. I mean, he's got to look these things over from the very tip here to the very bottom. We bring these things up into paint, and they spray paint on this thing, and there's a scratch in there. It's tenfold, you see it. Now that paint's got to come off. Now we've got a problem. So, I mean, these things really, this is the last line. You know, if they're not taken care of here, you know, we've got issues. So this is a really important job for us over here. So anyway, pretty cool meeting. I'd like anywhere else. There's ebony and pearl and some with abalone, and he's got some 30th anniversary boards here. They have Durlou and Marv Lamb and everybody's name in there, and Kalamazoo and the 30th anniversary. So, and we get guys who want, custom stuff. There's somebody who wants abalone clouds as opposed to just ebony clouds. So we're able to do a lot of stuff down here. Some people want heavy custom stuff. So a lot of these inlays we send out, they're done out of house down in Tennessee. Some of them we do right here in house. We're capable of it. For instance, we have we sell a lot of guitars that have rosewood fingerboards and trapezoid inlays. So this is pretty classic, pretty standard. But from time to time, guys want ebony instead. I could send this out, wait for 4 weeks to come back, or I could just make it here. And so that's usually what we do. We have a lot of computer navigated router. They give you a choice of 4 or 5 different profiles. They put them into a computer, they come out. Here at Heritage, we do them all by hand. We actually hand roll necks. Probably the only manufacturer left in the world that does it this way. There are guys that built 2 or 3 guitars in their basement, maybe do it this way, but by and large, any manufacturer would not do it this way. And it allows us to do things that other manufacturers just can't. People quite often will give us very distinctive measurements of their favorite guitar. We're able to duplicate those measurements. You can ask other companies, and they quite frankly just laugh at you. They go, this is what we got, take it or leave it. No, we actually make them here. And as you can see, like here's a neck that he's worked on, and you can see that we put the fingerboard and the head veneers on there with binding on them already. So when he starts rolling this neck, it doesn't take him very much to start hitting that plastic binding. He's in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of money involved right here. As soon as this thing up, you know, we have to start this thing over. We got problems, you know. So Arnie not only does he glue all these necks together and roll them very expertly, he has to actually fit them to the body too. We call it neck fitting here, not neck setting. These things do not click in there like a Lego. They take quite a bit of manipulation to get them into the body. And we use a couple of different things to help us. Like for instance, this is a little gauge. It clips onto the neck here. And you can see that this will help find the center line of the guitar. It's helping to orient the guitar to its center. He has another little gauge here. It has a couple of pins on it. These pins rest on the fingerboard. And when that third pin hits the body, he knows that it's oriented to the body right. So the neck has to be fit this way, and it also has to be fit this way. So he's got to have that, it's very particular. So he sits over here with his chisels, sits here, takes a little piece off of here, puts it back in there, comes back, takes another little piece of wood, puts it in there. So it's a lot of work to do this. That's pretty, so Arnie's one of our more talented employees here. tinker with that a little bit, and then the next step, I'll scuff it a little bit with sandpaper once it's dry to make sure there's no bumps there. And then I'll add red, and I'll just basically mimic where the dark parts are on the edges. And then I'll spray some more yellow over it, scuff that a little bit. Then I'll add that sort of the red to the middle just by what we call fogging it on. And then another coat of yellow, and then it'll be done. Except then I'll need to spend about an hour, hour and a half scraping all the binding with a little piece of metal, right? Because we spray right over the bindings and then have to sort of relieve them of their paint later, which takes a lot longer than actually putting color on things. Then they go through into about a 4-day process, 3-day process of getting coats of lacquer. And then eventually, and basically the way we have them arrayed here is they're in one or another stage of getting several coats or drying for a day and getting several more coats, getting sanded on the last coat, and then going through about a 2-week process of just sitting and drying. And in this environment, right, really hot weeks, we probably add another week onto that, just to be sure. And I think
that's one of those things, yeah, a 99-year-old building, that's what you get. But
yeah,
when we redo the building and there's a proper temperature and humidity controlled room, you can do in 3 days what you were doing in 3 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, keep it at a constant 110.
That's all close.
compound that he's using, here this Rouge one is essentially an equivalent to 2,000 to 4,000 grit sandpaper. So he's able to get it pretty shiny now. Did you hit it just for hit a little spot? So when he works it on this wheel and starts shining that up. And when he's done with this wheel, he goes over to this wheel, which has even a finer compound on it. It's equivalent to more like 4,000 to 6,000 grit sandpaper. So when he's done, these guitars come off these wheels, and I mean, they are glass. You can absolutely see your reflection in these guitars. They're just, like I said, we're obviously pretty passionate and pretty, but it's just, the results we get here are amazing with this stuff. For how temperamental it is, I mean, they just absolutely, you see some of these things and you just go, wow. I mean, they just are literally like glass.
The sunset burst.
I think they have their heads up.
Figured this one would photograph pretty well.
That's good, Jimmy. I don't see that big eagle for real. And there's a couple of lately.
Everybody has seen it too many times, he's gonna read it back away, but he's a great
Yeah, we're
tour guide.
switching groups. That's stuck with me